Hey guys, welcome back. If you're an investor and you've been looking at Tampa lately, you've probably noticed the same thing I have. Traditional rentals here don't cash flow like they used to. Prices have moved up, rents didn't keep up, and after reserves, insurance, and management, a lot of deals feel thin or even negative, especially single family houses. So we know there are people out there who want to invest in real estate, but they're searching through multiple markets and different rental ideas, Airbnb, long-term rental. They're trying to see what makes sense. So today I'm sitting down again with a highly experienced PadSplit property manager who operates right here in Tampa. And we're going to break down in plain terms why out-of-state investors keep choosing Tampa for PadSplit and what makes it work better here than a lot of other markets. We have 5 big reasons and we'll jump into it. Fred, do you want to introduce yourself? Who are you? What do you do?
Hey, everybody. My name is Fred Velhower, and we're owner of PMI Palms. We're a regular property management company, but we specialize in PadSplit property management. We're about one of the biggest property managers for PadSplit. We do have investing experience ourselves, so we understand both sides of it. We do own PadSplits, we do own rentals. So again, we come with more experience than a traditional property management company, and we're based here locally in the Tampa area.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for that, Fred. And one of the first big reasons that I think people are choosing Tampa, and there's been some investors who have gone out into other markets from Tampa, and they've come back. And I think one of the big things is, and this is not, all these combined is what makes Tampa a market. So it's not anything individually, right? There's probably other markets that have some of these same category positives, I guess, for lack of a better word. But I think, Tampa has stable and deep tenant demand all year round. Well, you actually the one who needs to tell me what you see, because you have a lot of data points to look at. But I think tenants tend to fill like these houses if they're priced properly and you do the rooms and you put them together the right way. I think they're going to fill pretty fast.
Right. Yeah, we have data and statistics and all that stuff, but we're there. We're in the trenches. We're doing it. We're doing it every day. And the plus side about Florida is too, up north, people are panicking this time of year if they have a rental, right? If it's not rented, they're probably not going to get it rented till the new year and after the new year. And the great thing about Florida is maybe it'll slow down the week of Thanksgiving, maybe slow down the week between Christmas and New Year's, but it doesn't stop, right? So don't panic if your properties are vacant, right? So, that's the great thing about Florida. And just year round, it might ebb and flow a little bit, but year round people are looking for places. And, people are still moving to the Tampa Bay area. I mean, it's so much on the news lately about, the bigger cities and the bigger states that have state income taxes, businesses and homeowners and everybody, they're coming to the Florida area and, because we don't have a state tax and, just increased population. And again, our house values have gone up and we're having a little bit of, a disparity between what you can buy the house for and what you can rent it out. So now that, as you mentioned, deals are getting thin. But that's the great thing about PadSplit, right? Because maybe this house will work, maybe it won't. Do I want to buy it? And then you put that PadSplit formula into it. And it kind of takes that deal and gives you that buffer and makes it more worth the risk. We can't say nothing comes with no risk, right. But we definitely can say, that's another option. That's great. And, this is a great model to work with.
Yeah. Who are these tenants? There's so much tenant demand, but who are they?
The PadSplit's designed to be affordable living, right? Because we have people that think about you going to Walmart, McDonald's, wherever, those people work and they have to live somewhere, right? Maybe a McDonald's cashier shouldn't be able to, but it's hard for them to purchase their own house, but they should be able to rent an apartment, right? They shouldn't be homeless. I mean, we got working people, like they would be homeless if they didn't have a roommate. And then this is where PadSplit opens up to, what we're getting for a room for a month is what I was getting for a whole house in our rentals when we started. And so, and that's how much rent has gone up in the area.
That was like 6 years ago too.
Yeah,
it was not that long ago.
Yeah,
I remember the houses out in Newport Richie. It was like $900 for a 3-bedroom, 2-house long-term rent. I was a leasing agent doing, hundreds or maybe 100 a year leases a year. And yeah, it was, I've seen how the rents have gone crazy as well.
Yeah. So, and that's where they're at. So these people deserve, if they work, to have a place to live. And so we are getting a lot of the working class people. Now, there is a big broad spectrum. It encompasses everybody. We have 18-year-olds just coming out of their parents' house all the way to people in their 70s. So think about this, if you had a 2-bedroom bathroom house, 6, 8 years ago, and you had a tenant living in there 10 years, and now they're a senior citizen. They're on fixed income, and now all of a sudden insurances went up and taxes went up, and now you have to raise, or people are acquiring properties. You can't put a tenant in for $800, and the owner goes, man, I got double the equity, I'm selling. Sorry, Mr. Tenant, you've been great for 15 years, love you to death, but I'm cashing in on my equity. And then the new owner comes and says, sorry, we can't leave you in for
Every
1800.
time. Yeah,
can't leave
every
you in for
time
800.
they're
We'll do
not renewing
1800,
them.
right?
Yeah.
And so now, where does this senior citizen who's 70 years old that doesn't have the ability to increase their income unless they're going to go back to work at 70 years old? So you can't send them to an apartment because the apartments are not that cheap anymore either. So we are getting our senior citizens living with us, and
Can you set, sorry to interrupt you, but can you set an age limit for a pad split property where like a 55 and up? Is that possible?
We haven't tried that yet.
Okay.
We tried to keep it as a broad spectrum and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was the thing.
Yeah, like we've tossed around the ideas about male, female only, or age and things like that. It's not a ton of population, but I mean, maybe that would help out, and we'd have to check the legalities all behind that in the 55 and up community in one house. But we do have a couple of houses where we do have some 55 and up people living. Well, 55 and up, you're still working, right? So we're talking about 70 and up.
Yeah.
And so anyway, this has been great for them. The one lady, she was interviewed by PadSplit because she's like, I come there, oh, you're a savior. I would be homeless if it wasn't for you. And so, I mean, think about it, right? Where would our seniors go if they didn't have family or friends to live with? PadSplit, they're still independent. And, it's not meant to be an assisted living by any means. It's just they're roommates. But the good thing is now it's affordability for them.
When you have different types of tenants and you have different types of rooms and there's demand for these rooms, do you ever see, I don't know, like, is there like one employer or like a sector that you see typically these tenants are employed by?
Well, we actually try to chase down a business, and when you base that on, hey, we're going to open this house up in this area for this certain company, and we weren't getting it, we were just getting other people. So it was a good idea to try to do that, to work with them.
Right.
But I think PadSplit, they are going out to the Amazon distribution centers and the other, and especially in our area. I don't know how many people around the country hear about the I-4 corridor, and that leads from Tampa to Orlando. We're actually bringing on another property halfway between Tampa and Orlando because Lakeland area, Plant City, Davenport, they're along that I-4 corridor, and there's a lot of distribution centers there. There's a newer 1 million square foot building that one company now has leased this huge building. So the more we buy from home and all that other stuff we have, which kind of neat, is because we do have people working from home. Like when I first started, I didn't know. I thought we were going to get 20 and 30-year-olds, where they work, what are they going to do? And I heard someone working from home on their computer. And then now there's at least half of our houses or more have at least one person working from home. And so then, it's a whole mixture of where everybody's working. And, so it's just not one class. And that's what's kind of good. It's kind of a long-winded answer, but
no, it's okay.
It's a big mixture. So, I would say don't specifically focus on, because you might be surprised. You might have been focused on this, but you got that and your house is still full.
Yeah. So people are just so curious on like who is living in these things. And so I was trying to build a profile. Would you say it's probably 25 to 45-year-olds on average? I mean, this is like a very rough average, but
yeah, I mean, you can say that's the average, but I mean, we still have
you still have younger and older, right? Of
course.
Of
course. Younger
okay.
and older. So yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Reason number 2, and this is the fun one because we can talk about cash flow. I think the spread here is bigger in Tampa. Now, I'm not an expert on other markets, so I know there's a lot of popularity with like Jacksonville, although maybe that's died down a little bit lately. I don't know. There's Atlanta is like the headquarters for PadSplits where they started out. So I know there's a lot of enthusiasm for that market, and there's a lot of other markets all around the states now. They're not in every single market, or not in every single state. But you can correct me if you have a different thought. But when I was thinking about this, we have turned more into an appreciation market than a cash flow market. So if you were to go into like the Midwest, where cash flow is typically higher, but there's less appreciation over the years, I think there's a chance that you might be able to get into a pad split that outperforms the cash flow a little bit. But wealth is created by appreciation. It's not created by cash flow. So if you're able to get cash flow in an appreciation based market, which I feel like Tampa's more of that, then I think you've hit a very nice, you struck a nice balance, and it's a hybrid opportunity for you. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, Tampa versus other markets, and just the ability to cash flow with a pad split it's much better than any other long-term rental out here.
Yeah, I understand. Like, what's your investing style? What's your investing goal, right?
Right.
It's
Of
always
course.
great if you can cash flow. Everybody wants to cash flow and get appreciation. That's you got a home run, right? But I, I would say the Tampa market, we can cash flow if you do it right. You got to buy right. You got to do the right house, and we can get both. Because you definitely want to cash flow, and I do see people cash flowing because they're doing it right. If you do it wrong, then you're hoping to break even, and no one wants to lose money. So, and that's why from the start you're going to have to say no to some stuff, and
A lot of stuff.
because don't try to force something. That's the biggest problem is I see is people trying to force something. So yeah, I mean, we do got the cash flow and we do got the appreciation here in this area.
If I don't say no to it, you'll say no to it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, between the
Well,
two of us.
yeah, or both of us. Usually it's either both or none. Tell me about the best deal you've seen and maybe the worst deal you've seen. I don't know. Like, yeah, have time for that?
So how about it? We'll end on a positive note. So
Yeah.
kind of one of the worst deals I've seen is, someone bought right before, the market started to cool off a little bit. They bought too high. Then they bought a smaller house, and they're trying to, and I know the intention was great to make it a smaller room count, make it a more
Right.
quaint,
More like,
so you're not
yeah.
overcrowded and stuff like that. The intentions were wonderful. And if that was your goal, you're like, I don't care if this house makes money or whatever, I want to do something nice for people. That's one thing. But the problem was that, the house never made money. It was always a losing venture. And here's the problem. We had nowhere to expand to because it was already all the space was used and it was a 5-bedroom. There was no room to make a 6-bedroom. And so when you run into a couple little problems, you run into some maintenance issues. Maybe, you have someone we'll just put out there. Sometimes somebody might not pay, right? So then if you need to be fully rented 100% of the time to break even without any major repairs, that's the wrong investment strategy.
Basically, zero vacancy, zero reserves. And we can talk about this later too, or even now.
Yeah.
Like, you have to factor those things into it. I mean, the simple thing people do is 15% that's for long-term rentals. They do the 5-5-5
Right.
for maintenance, capex, and vacancy. But it's really like, 15 or 20, because you need at least 10% for vacancy. And then probably, I don't know what you think, but I still think 5% and 5% is probably good for maintenance and repairs, because it is such a large gross rent, that you're collecting the 5% from.
Right. Yeah. And so like there was nowhere else to go. I did say one lady, she had a living room that, she was just leaving set up with a desk and stuff like that. And we had an extra room, and then that took some of the stress. I mean, she cash flowed she had a 5-bedroom, we turned into a 6-bedroom. She cash flowed at 5, but the 6 made a nice buffer. But, some of the home runs to think about is sometimes square footage works to your advantage, and sometimes it just wasted space and you're not going to be able to. But we turned a 2,000 square foot house into a 9-bedroom house. That was a 3-bedroom house,
Yeah.
that's a good deal. And then also kind of the right multifamily will work too, because you're already paying the water for that and the trash for that and lawn care for that. So, sometimes you got to pick the right multifamily, but you can turn that into,
Yeah, we're venturing dangerously close into reason number 3. Reason number 3 is the predictability of PadSplit in Tampa, converting them in Tampa. So we have a lot of layouts in Tampa, and the way our houses were built, a lot of them are actually, a lot of the older houses are actually very suitable for PadSplit. The way you can break them down, like you were saying, from a 3-bedroom house to a 9-bedroom with just 2,000 square feet, like that's an ideal layout. Now, I don't want to talk about, I hate talking about unicorn deals, like the ones that do super well, because then everybody's like, oh, I'm going to find that deal and I'm not going to buy anything and it might be 2 years before you find something as good as that again, because maybe somebody beats you to every other property, or you just never find it. There's a lot of reasons. Right. So I hate talking about them, but there is like extreme potential with PadSplit to provide a good experience, but also make a lot of cash flow each month. So let's just talk about the layouts. And I think The common one we see is like the 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, 2 bath, three baths. I think are probably preferable
Right.
because when one's a master, you still have 2 open guest bathrooms instead of having to take a master and turning it into a guest, which is also very feasible. That can work.
Right.
But one of the reasons why I think it's just easy, it's not easy to find a property because it's still a needle in a haystack, but there's more needles out there.
Right. Right. So something to think about too. There's two style houses to pick from. One that's already renovated and ready to be, flipped to an end user, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
that needs no renovation. So you're going to pay more top dollar, and you
Expect
just
lower,
right,
yes, like so expect to pay a premium and lower cash flow, but it's like simplicity.
right. And but your conversion's quicker too, and
True.
like you're only doing conversion. You're not doing a renovation. You're doing a conversion, right?
Right.
Conversion means you're throwing up
You
some
still have
walls
to
and
have
then
20K cash after you close,
right.
roughly, maybe a little bit more depending on the deal. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you're just putting up a couple wall stones, some furniture. You're not adding, changing kitchens, bathrooms. But think about Florida. There's Florida rooms, family rooms, things like that. There's a lot of those things already added on. So there's a lot of square footage in the houses that can be used. I've trained some other offices around the country, and went up to Baltimore area and stuff like that, and they got row houses, and they're just kind of stuck. They're just doing 4 or 5 bedroom pad split houses, and they're not getting the full potential of
Mm,
7, 8, 9 bedrooms. Seven
yeah.
bedrooms is kind of when you really start feeling that extra
Yeah.
cash flow, right? So those are you can
Unless it's
land
like a
seven
200K
bedroom,
property, but yes, you're
right? So once you get that 7 bedroom, that's where you really start to feel that money kick in, right? Because you're not buying a pad split house to make what you're making in a long-term rental or a
no.
couple bucks more, right? You're doing all this extra work to make a lot more money, right? If you're going to put the risk, put the effort, put the time, and put the headaches involved in this, you want that extra money, right? So
Yeah.
there are these houses out there. They're not unicorn deals. They're great deals that you can find.
Yeah.
And think about, we have a lot of houses in Florida have garages, so we can convert those. Maybe it's going to cost you a little more to convert the garage. Do it right, and you can get a couple bedrooms out of the garage if you get a 2-car garage or more.
Yeah.
Where sometimes depending if it's oversized 2-car garage, we can get 4 bedrooms out of it. So we just had someone acquire one.
Deep, yeah.
We're gonna make it a 10-bedroom house. And think about, you can take advantages of the add-ons to add-ons. Those deals that are sitting on the market, right? Because the regular homeowner comes and looks at this house and go, "This is a weird layout." Well, guess what? We can make that weird layout work.
That's almost sometimes better. Yeah, the weird layouts are actually better. I found
Right. And so there's a lot of houses in this area that, and if they're older too, and we have a lot of concrete block houses and stuff like that, then there's a lot of wood frame too. So if you do get that wood frame with the crawl space, if you want to add bathrooms and stuff, man, plumbing right under the house and make it easy. So there's a lot of pluses and minuses to every house.
I think, and not to give away my like cheat sheet here too much, but the things that I look for typically are block homes, single story. How many 2-story houses do you have that you're managing that are successful? I mean, would you say it's like a 10%, 5%? Like how many are out there that you're managing that are pad split? Because to me, I've just rarely walked through to make sense.
Yeah, so we do have 2-bedroom house. We have a 2-bedroom duplex, right?
Yeah,
Where it's a separate upstairs and downstairs. So, then we have a 100-year-old house that was made into a duplex years back, and so that's successful too. But we do have a couple 2-story houses that were, if you're going to do it, you got to make sure you get the right house.
So mostly single story. Yeah, generally speaking. Yeah, and that's one of the things too in Tampa. Like we have so many ranch style homes, or just like single story block slab foundation, very durable homes. And you worry about the hurricanes and stuff, but like these are pretty sturdy homes overall. They've already survived 50 years plus. So
right. But again, don't discount 2-story homes. There are some that are out there that do work, and they are great. But then we have one that was kind of like a 1940s up north style house that had a finished attic, but guess what? The dormers are there. It's just closed off. It's just a waste of space. We use it as storage, but but
the garage conversions I think are also key. But then that's a different type of person. That's less of a turnkey conversion. That's more of a distressed renovation or fix and flip. But hey, you know what? I just realized I never got to hear the best deal you've seen.
We have a couple of great deals. It's just when the best deals are when you can just take a regular house and make 9 bedrooms out of it. I think, oh, well, here you go. So we had one, and Dylan was the selling agent on this, and this house had some additions already on it. And what's great is it had the kitchenette and everything already on the back, and it was its own separate entrance. So it kept that. And this house is Again, it had a couple additions, but
It's kind of weird though,
it
in a
was a
good
kind of
way.
weird layout. But since we made it a pad split, we made it 10 bedrooms. And this owner, he keeps wanting more of those, because this was his home run. And so we made it 10 bedrooms and we had room to make it 11 or 12. And so we created a follow-up email to automatically go out 3 months later after we got it up and running to reevaluate, because he wanted the 11th bedroom. I said, this house feels open. It's nice. The kitchen's wonderful. And we left the living room not converted.
Oh, it
And
didn't have a window, if I recall.
it had a window and it had that light coming in, but then it would have made the kitchen like a dungeon.
I see.
And this owner owns another house that felt like a dungeon. Once you got
Yeah, I
inside, you
remember.
didn't have any natural light, and this house just felt right. And so 3 months later, the email went out to both of us. He said, let's just keep it. This is my best performing house. So
Don't
and he
fix
goes,
something
I
that's
want
broken.
everyone
It's
to
not
look
broken.
like this. And everything gets compared to that. So again, we could have put an 11th bedroom and maybe even a 12th, right? But are you really going to profit more off of that? And that's when you need your actually boots on the ground. You need the experience,
Yeah.
cram an extra room. I mean, this house is 10 bedroom and it's cash flowing.
That house was a unicorn deal, though. I'll tell you what, it was in such a great area with such like one of the lowest dollar per square foot I've seen in a long time. And so it's kind of unbelievable that we found that in the first place. But that's why it's nice to compare that to as like a benchmark, but it's also it's discouraging to other people when they hear about how good somebody's deals are, because it's like, oh no, I'll never be able to compete or we match up to that. But
you're
just
going
wait a
to
few
find
years.
them.
It'll
You're going to find if you're out there doing it, you're going to find them, man. That's your home run deal. You're going to come across one over time. If you stay in the game,
I think it was an old like nursing or assisted living facility, I think is what it was, which, anyway, if you can find those are going to be some of your best deals too, but there's just none out there. So, good luck. All right. Let's go on to the next one. Reason number 4, we have a lot of mature operators in this area in Tampa. So you have agents who know what they're doing. You have property managers who know what they're doing. Fred here, for example, he's been in this for many years and manages a lot of properties for basically all the clients I've ever worked with. We have general contractors who, for the most part, know what they're doing. And then, Tampa's pretty established. We're surrounded by many other markets in Florida where PadSplit has thrown marketing, and the presence is here. So, especially with education and webinars and all that type of thing. So I think having people in place, like if you were to go to, there's some markets out there that are very new and very fresh, and it would probably be a little bit worrying if you're out of state to invest in a market like that where, it's somebody's first year working on a PadSplit deal. They don't know the layout, or they don't know how the layout affects the home, and the management style is completely whacked. So I think that's one of the big things too is Tampa. And again, there are other markets out there that have experienced operators and managers and agents and stuff. But another one of those big things, so one of those big key points for our market here in Tampa.
Right. Yeah, and here's the great thing is the outlying areas of Tampa too. So it don't even just have to
Orlando.
Right. Yeah. Or even just across the bay over into Pinellas County or just a little bit north. So, so definitely Tampa itself is a great hot market. It's not getting smaller. It's only getting bigger. More and more people are needing places to stay. There's not much left. I mean, we're finding more dirt here and there, but, it's built up, it's established, and, we're still growing. But like you said, it's established, it's mature. You have your operators, you have your contractors. It's not you're like, well, if I don't pick this contractor, I'm out of luck. You have all the vendors you need in this area. You have the experience you need in this area. And then you also have the population to fill the houses. And especially affordable housing is never going to go out of style, right? I mean, people are, and when times get rough, that's going to be in more demand too. You know what I'm saying? People are having to downsize and finding places to stay. And when the times are great, maybe the rents go up way high at these luxury apartments and people go, I can't afford, so rents kind of stay level over time. I think maybe during the pandemic is when it surged, but other than that, where house values are always going up and down, where rents are pretty stable, and this was the only time in history we've really seen a surge in rental value.
Yeah, that was my experience too. I haven't been in the market as long as you, but over 10 years. And yeah, as far as the rents go, they're a little bit more stable. Usually they're flat or they're a little up. I haven't really seen them go down, but that's also because I wasn't in the market back in like 08, 9, 10, 11. I think that the rents might have gone down then. Reason number 5 is Tampa's a growth market still, and it's a long-term growth market. And so whether you have a property that cash flows significantly or just a little, at the very least, when you're ready to get out of the market, you have a property that's gonna be worth a lot more than what you paid for it. Again, rents are not rents. Property values go up and down, but if you're holding for 5 or 10 years, the very slim chance you'll be underwater on that property, especially with a pad split when you've been collecting cash flow throughout the years. And this is one of the things I like to put together on my calculator cash flow charts so people can see when you do the IRR and you're collecting cash flow like $800 a month or $500 or whatever it is, you over 10 years, that's a lot of money, and especially a lot of debt pay down. So, and then if you have an average of 4% of the property value increasing per year, which is the historical 20-year average I put together. Some zip codes are like 6%, but many are like 4 to 5. Then you can really see how these properties make a lot of sense. Anyway, any thoughts on you with the Tampa market? I know you've been, in the real estate, you've been an investor yourself.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we got in when the market was down in '08 and stuff like that. So, I mean, I hate to say we got into perfect time because people are suffering, but man, you're not going to see that again. But we've seen a couple little surges come and go. But over time, real estate goes up, so don't buy at the very high dollar peak of the market, let it cool off a little bit. And that's when you purchase. And now's a good time to buy, right? The market's cooled off a little bit. And then that's when people will be more willing to come off their price too, because things aren't flying off the shelf. And what greater way to build, cash, just a substantial net worth because of appreciation, cash flow, and paying down you're letting the tenants pay down your debt. I mean,
you're not getting rich off of one deal here or anything. It's just some simple base hits stacked together, a couple of times, once every 2 years, even over 5 or 10 years. That's significant for you. But exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, and you never know when the next up's going to be. And the great thing about these pad split houses is you have options too. So if you don't overpay for the house, then you have an exit strategy, multiple exit strategies, right? You can sell it as an up and running pad split house. You can sell it to another. We've been on both sides of the deal. We're selling and buying. I mean, we're in the middle of that right now. Someone's like, hey, we're just done. We're in a part of our life. We bought this a few years ago and we decided we want to cool off. We want to cash in, right? And they're like, we're kind of done doing the rentals and stuff like that. And another person's like, I'm getting in. I'll take that off your hands. And then you can always convert it back to a single family home and sell it as a single family home. You can convert it back to a single family home and another person keeps it as a rental as a single. There's so many options once you buy right. And again, you get to hold this thing, and decommissioning it is a lot cheaper than setting it up, right? So you're just fixing a couple little things. But again, you don't have to.
You get depreciation too. So this is a little separate, but you get depreciation on the furniture you put in there too. So once that wears out and you decide to sell, it's like, well, you don't have to pay for the furniture again. It's like it's just a loss anyway.
Right.
So there's random perks, but you talked about comparing the long-term rental, like decommissioning it. I think the target buyer for most long-term rentals right now, like on single family, is probably just a family or a retail homeowner. Whereas a pad split, I think the target buyer is, I mean, of course, this could change in a few years, but as long as the property is functioning right, I think you won't even have any deconversion costs. I think you'll just find another. I actually came across somebody told me about a guy who's got 2 properties he's looking to get rid of that are operating pad splits right now. So I'm going to take a look at those, and I can't see it making, unless you have a 4 or 5 bedroom pad split, I can't see it making sense to deconvert it,
Yeah. And here's the thing too, because there's value in paying a few dollars extra. You say, hey, look, I'm paying a few dollars extra because I can get this house. Because think about it's an up and running pad split. So people are in it. Of course, you need to do your inspection and do some due diligence, but you don't have any of those surprises, right? Because maybe you're buying a vacant house, or maybe you're buying this, or you're doing a conversion and found it. The conversion is done, right? So you should be out of a lot of surprises.
No surprises, no vacancy,
right.
No vacancy.
Right. So you don't have any vacancy. You step into it. As soon as you sell it, the platform turns over to the new owner, and you're making cash flow day one. So if things go right, you're not getting rents for a month or two. Lightning fast, you're still not getting rents for a couple months. By the time you purchase a house, maybe fix it up, do your conversion, buy the furniture, assemble it, take your pictures, put that listing up, get the members, in the house, there's a lot of steps. So you can save thousands of dollars by buying an up and running, and there's value in this. If you buy an up and running what's that worth to you? Is it worth an extra 10,000, extra 20,
How
or
long does
extra
it take to
5?
stabilize a property typically for you? You know, like when you
Yeah,
have
so
you get tenants in there, and then some of them immediately leave it. You know, within 3 months, maybe.
yeah, so it's about a 60 to 90 day. Don't it,
Okay.
you follow averages? Don't know why, right? Because you have an up and running house and someone stays for 3 years when they move in and stay, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like it seems maybe because there's so many, but we've had a couple of home runs where again, someone bought one, we filled every room in 24 hours. Someone finally moved out and it filled it right back up. And I told the owner, I was like, don't get used to that. You got the one. But I mean, you're going to get people they'll start trickling in the first week, the first couple of days. But give it a time. Someone might move in and go, co-living's not meant for me, or this is the wrong area,
Right.
or whatever. So just for some reason, it takes 60 to 90 days to kind of settle down. There are houses that, bam, they fill up. You got lucky. Perfect house, perfect area, perfect whatever. But yeah, just for historically, when you do law of averages, that's what it takes. But again, during that period, you're still making money. So it's not, and that's the other wonderful thing about PadSplit. Each one's a little mini multifamily. You're not completely empty. We never have a completely empty house except during renovation, right? So even if you
Yeah.
lost half the house, you still got money
You have
coming in.
money coming in. Whereas, yeah, with a single family, there's been times where somebody can't fill it for 3 months, and you have zero income, but you have a mortgage. Zero income
Mhm.
for 3 months, maybe 4 months. I know somebody's going through that right now. There's probably some people I'm watching who are going through that right now. So
Yeah,
it's not fun, especially.
right. And think about this because we have long-term rentals too. And if they go vacant, now you have to turn the water on in your name. You got to turn the power on your name. You got to spend
Yeah,
time chasing them down.
just turn
So,
costs.
right, so even if you lost half your house for some crazy reason, and we've had that just a couple of times, like 2 or 3 people go, "Oh, I'm moving out of town. I'm buying a house. I got a new job." I mean, every now and then we'll lose a couple at the same time for just random reasons, nothing to do with the house. But you still got people paying your taxes and your mortgage or whatever. You're not zero. And
Yeah,
again, you don't even have the utilities are already in your name, but it's just not like if you have a $2,000 a month rental, but it's not really 2,000 because you got to turn utilities on, you got to clean, you got to
yeah.
repair,
Can't
you
look at the
know.
gross. You can never look at
Right.
the gross, and I think that's a mistake that a lot of investors make when they're early on. They know there's other costs, but it's hard to quantify that until you own a property.
Right.
So, well, hey man, I really appreciate it. I know we didn't really talk about a sample deal or like a little case study here, but you out of curiosity, maybe I'll just ask you. You talked about turning a 3 bedroom into a 9 bedroom. Do you have like a property in mind? Would you mind sharing? What the numbers look like on that property?
I'll have to double check the numbers on the
Okay,
property,
okay,
but I mean, it just, this is one of those houses that it had an add on, and then had plenty of square feet. It just was kind of laid out a little funny. And to get to a bedroom, it was big enough for 2 rooms, but there was only one doorway in. We actually took the cabinets and moved them over,
mm,
and so I mean, you get a
yeah,
little creative, and this was a wood frame house, but and it was a big house, and it was on a
okay,
big lot, and so, I mean, those are awesome to kind of, because this house was it was purchased and used as a short term rental, and then as the market cooled off, then people were still paying a little high dollar for rent. So then tenants were put in place. And now the tenants moved out. And now the owner's like, well, now, I'm not really cash flowing anymore. So this owner already had some pad split houses. And so we converted in. And this owner actually bought an old assisted living facility. So those are, if you can find one of those, think about it. They have multiple rooms, and there's probably a little bit more
there's
parking.
always more than 2 bathrooms as well, usually three or
Right,
four.
right.
So yeah,
Um, but yeah, as far as the numbers, I don't have them in front
that's
of me.
okay.
But,
That's
but
okay.
again, this
I
think
go through
about that.
those on different videos anyway, so I
Right.
we don't have to discuss those here. But I mean, usually I would say the cash on cash return for some of these really good deals is almost always above 10.
Mhm.
I've seen some like close to 13 and 14, but those are like the hard ones to find. So just you can compare that to different properties, different markets, and kind of see how the apples to apples.
Right.
So
Yeah.
well, appreciate it, Fred. Where can people find you? And uh, tell us about your where you're
Our,
located,
our, our
your
company
house
name is
address.
Yeah, yeah.
Just kidding.
Come on over, have dinner. So no, we're official a property management company. We're PMI Palms. And you can look us up and reach us that way. And they can also call the office, go online and find us that way. They can be in touch with you. And you can put them in touch with me. I'm always there.
Yeah.
If I don't pick up my call, I'll call you back. Yeah, we don't go days
I
without
appreciate
talking.
that too. Yeah.
So yeah, we're busy, but yeah, we're here, we're local, and we're ready for everybody who wants to come put a pad split in the Tampa Bay area, and it's a great market.
Yeah, so we got the demand for PadSplit. We have cash flow here, appreciation here. We have houses that work. Like general, like of course, there's layouts that don't work. I have to like give a caveat to everything, but generally we have a lot of houses here that do work. The layouts and the builds that work. We have management. We have all the people you need in a maturing market here, and I think we have location on our side with being in Tampa Bay. So one of the like either the second or third largest metro in Florida. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you. If you have any questions about what we talked about, please drop a comment below. Please like and subscribe, and we'll let you go. Thanks. Bye.